maybe you noticed in our description, I invited Emanuel today because I'm really interested in his career path, professional path actually, because he switched from one field to another and they're totally different, and I'm really curious to find out more about his background. So, Emanuel, we know each other for about 2 years, I guess.
Close to, yes.
Yeah, we're both Romanian, but we never met in Romania, not even when we came to Canada. It's just serendipity. You find out about a book where I had a chapter. So I let you describe how you reach out to me. How did you find out about me and that book?
Thank you so much, Gabriela. So what happened was after I came, I still consider myself recent to Canada, but it's been already 5 years or so. And in late 2019, a friend of mine actually come and visited Toronto for a day. He was here. He's a movie director, and he was here for a festival. And then I learned about a book called Building Bridges, an anthology published by the Immigrant Writers Association. Well, multiple immigrant authors from Canada, mostly Toronto, were featured there. And obviously, I was a curious mind, so I went on Amazon, ordered it. The next day, it came in, and I read the book. It was surprisingly, I resonated with lots of the stories there, most being immigrant stories. But I also resonated the most with Gabriela Casineanu's story, which is yours, and because you share the intimate moment that not so many are willing to share. But I believe that many all experience a certain phase in our lives, and mostly throughout our careers. And obviously, I reach out to each individual, each author by social media, because right now it's easy to get in contact with almost everyone. And that's how our relationship started. And we started working together. I shared some ideas, and also you started implementing them about the website. And slowly we developed into more work together, and not just limited to Iowa. Did I miss anything?
Nope, it's okay. I just want to say that Emanuel and I are talking about the first anthology of Immigrant Writers Association, which is called Building Bridges. This is an association that I started after I wrote and published my first book. And then every year we publish a new anthology, and we have the pleasure to have Emanuel joining us, the co-author for the second anthology, Grow Together. And the third one is coming up in November. It's called Moving Forward. Yeah, that's the second one. So I love how Emanuel find his way into what he likes, because I understand that you like to write, right?
I do. I like to let the demons out, how I like to say sometimes.
So why I'm sharing this story about the anthologies is because I noticed that Emanuel has a lot of interest. Tell us how you started, how your professional career, professional path started.
Uh, Professional career. My professional career started way longer than I would like to admit. More than 10 years ago, close to 15 years. I actually went the other route. I started entrepreneurial. In high school, I founded what was back then a record label and a recording studio. It was independent. And after high school, I decided to give it a try as a full-time position. And that's where I dedicated most of my time for a couple of years. And that's essentially how I learned many of the things and skills that I am putting to work today. Since I didn't have the budget, I learned to build my websites on my own, learn WordPress, learn about SEO, which was very different back then, but still some core elements, some basic elements are still valid even today. But learn about the search engine, how to structure your URL, your site, headings, keywords, links, and so on. So small tweaks added up then and there. I was for many years the first on the first page of Google back home in Romania for the most important keywords in my terms and so on. Also, I learned how to communicate with people, how to make relationships and networking with key industry people, and to promote the product that I had back then, which was essentially artists and their albums and their singles and some videos and so on. I was quite successful underground at one point, so I'm proud of some of the things that came out of that work. Then after a while, I moved to corporate. I took.
Okay, let's stop here because I have a question. You talked about what you liked about that experience. You were very successful and you learned a lot out of it. What made you move to something else? Why did you leave that behind? Because from what you're saying, you are passionate about what you are doing. You enjoyed what you are doing, maybe until one point. So what made you shift to something else?
Something I shared in this anthology and the following that's coming. It's an Indian proverb that says that if you don't like what you have, if you don't have what you like, you better like what you have. So essentially, I'm passionate about everything I do. I've been blessed so far by actually trying to enjoy whatever I'm doing as work. So I never saw it as work. In regards to music, I still love music. I still listen and feel music, and that's mentioned in the chapter from the upcoming anthology, right? I'll let our viewers read the chapter for more details. But being inside from the industry, I couldn't enjoy music as much as I am today, for example. I can enjoy a live show, I can enjoy listening to an album without all the fuss that going around from when you're somehow in the industry. So I decided to move forward in my career and took a position at the corporate in the corporate environment.
And what type of position and what you are doing?
How I like to say, I was getting paid for watching TV. No, I work in the advertising industry on TV monitoring. I was monitoring the TV stations and essentially, yes, sound simplified. I was watching TV, but not that. I was monitoring most of the TV stations back home in Romania, and I did that job for close to 3 years.
And was it easy to get from your own recording studio into a paid job in a corporate? What
It was
helped you to
different.
get to that job?
It was different. Networking helped a lot. So probably like anywhere else, having a solid network and having people trust you helps you along the line. Maybe not at the moment, maybe not when you want it or when you need it, but it does pay off. So the transition was smooth, I guess, because as I said before, I always try to identify myself as much as I can with what I do, and I try not to hate what I do that much. And fortunately enough, and thank God, wasn't in so many situations that I disliked what I did completely.
So what was next after those 3 years?
Oh, it's been some other gigs, and also in the meantime, because of the skills that I developed during my entrepreneurial career about SEO and digital marketing and consulting, advertising websites, and so on, I have consulted successfully other businesses as well, and for a short period of time, some insurance companies and brokers with their online presence. They were emerging. There were some new companies, and we established quite successfully their online presence. After that, I took over. After my father passed away, I've been involved in the accounting world for a couple of years as well. After my father passed away, I took over the company he was managing, and I did that for a couple of years. I've always been around him. So
let's stop a little. How did you go from helping businesses with their online presence to accounting, which require totally different skills? How did you acquire those? How did you make that shift so fast?
Well, to be honest, I've always been around my father, and I learned a thing or two about accounting since he was around. So I learned kind of like what was going on, what was required, and we need to put in the context, right? It was different than what it is, let's say, here in Canada or in North America, what accounting means and what it is implied and what it meant, let's say, even 10 years ago back home in Romania. Things have simplified right now, but back then they were a little bit different. So being involved all the time, I kind of like knew what the way things were going. And there like in SEO, in every aspect of life, I guess there are some essential skills, the so-called soft skills. I don't know why they're called soft, but that's a topic maybe for another conversation. But these soft skills can easily help you apply the successfully, I guess, I hope, the same framework to in anything that you will do. So being honest, being serious, and dedicate yourself to getting the job done can be applied in every context, and that those are the key factors in order to be successful, in my opinion. And
those technical skills you can learn. It's just important to know how you learn and how to apply and how to be good in what you're doing, right?
Adaptability, I guess that's the key word here.
Yeah, I would also say that you're very assertive from what I'm hearing. In everything that you do, you think about something and you look for ways to get into that direction to achieve that goal. So you move very fast from one direction to another, but you are able to establish yourself in any direction you choose. What helps you?
I hope I get to establish myself. So far, it's been great. It's not necessarily easy, but not necessarily bad also. I don't believe that things should be easy. I guess probably I'm a determined person, and also I don't give up that easy. So being persistent, it's maybe one one personal characteristic that probably differentiates me from other side, and to insist and persist until I do get the job done, regardless of what that might mean.
So you have experience in back home in Romania. You have experience here in Canada. How your professional path evolved when you came to Canada? Was it useful what you did before in one way? What's different? So
It was different, for sure. Also, I've seen this as an opportunity to really think about what I want to do, and because I had many backgrounds, not so many, but I had different backgrounds that differ one from the other. I had the opportunity to think about what I really want to do and where should I focus my attention. And obviously, there's a buffer, right? There's a buffer period once you come to Canada until you actually get into not the job, but to a career that you want to.
So what helped you?
What
Not
helped?
just in general, because you're here, my guest. I'm
Yeah.
more interested in your experience.
Out of all that I did, I think I enjoyed the most the digital marketing side of the things that I've did in the past, and especially the SEO, the search engine optimization, which is part of digital marketing, and essentially is helping businesses stand out and has their online reputation and stand out higher in the search engine results pages, which essentially is Google, rank higher on Google organically and not through paid advertising.
So you keep talking about SEO. We talk about accounting. Do they meet anyway? Somewhere in this work that you're doing with small businesses, how do you combine the two? What do you think about? Is there any common ground for accounting and SEO?
Certainly, there are common elements like accounting in SEO. If you're all over the place, then you're up to bad start, right? Oh, that client, did we invoice that client? Did he pay us? Where's that document? Where's everything? So if you don't have, from an accounting standpoint, everything in order, then you'll have difficulties. The same thing goes for SEO, and that's something I tell a lot. Let's keep it straight, let's keep it simple, and let's take it as serious as doing your taxes, doing your marketing, especially the SEO, as doing your taxes. Obviously, you don't have to do it. The taxes, you don't need to do it, but there are consequences, and you're leaving money on the table if you, as a business, especially small business, you don't take care of the digital marketing aspect, and right now your online presence, which is mostly your website.
So if you're talking about small businesses and their online presence, what do you think is challenging for them, and what would you advise them?
There are many challenges as being a business owner, not just to marketing, but managing the business itself. And that's why most of the time they leave the marketing or their online presence lower on their priority list. So if I were to give one advice is to put the marketing and the SEO and everything regarding to promoting your company and your business a little bit higher on the priority list.
Are there any tips to help? Because as you said, a small business owner juggles with a lot of hats. Do you suggest any systems or strategies that might be helpful?
We can discuss. We have time. We have 10 hours, so we can just start about what it can be done.
A few, two, 3 tips.
3 tips. I would say, first of all, because as you said, because a business owner needs to wear many hats. One thing is I recommend, and it's hype right now, is to focus a little bit more on creating video content. And there's no one that knows the business better than you. So some video content in there. Also, I am recommending a lot of repurposing the content. There are so many tools and channels that you can promote, and SEO is not just limited to the website, but also what's happening. And we talk about video. There's YouTube, there are social media channels, and so on. And these all take time, regardless of how much you want. You need to spend some time to actually be successful. That being said, you don't need to reinvent the wheel each time. So I suggest creating a seed content. I call it a seed content. Then repurpose, take chunks of it and do a social media post, do a quote. You have video, do the audio. Like I said, after we get the recording for this this live session, I'm gonna get the transcription. I'm gonna tweak it and arrange it and post it on our website, so you can get also the benefit of the having the words and the keywords on actual web page and try to rank for it, and also an opportunity to build some links from there and so on. But we'll have just one seed content. We're going to focus on making it the best as possible, and then we can repurpose and have content for the next couple of years, and that can easily be applied for any type of business.
Mm-hmm. And thinking again about your career path, what would you suggest to people who want to change careers or to change countries or change jobs between different companies?
I guess it depends. I can only talk from my perspective and give my own example, right? I guess it starts from trying not to hate, at least that so much, whatever it is that you're doing. And try to embrace change is part of life, right? It says that the only constant thing is change. There's a saying, I guess. So try to embrace it and don't be afraid.
And where the passion comes from, where the passion comes in, if you think about your career path, you're just doing something and try not to hate it, or do you bring passion into what you're doing? Are you paying attention to what you're interested in, what you really love to do? So how that work in your case?
In my case, I try to think. I like to think that it does for me. So the passion is natural, but you learn to also develop, and it starts with a passion. But once you get involved more and try to learn as much as you can about the business, either being accounting or SEO or digital marketing or anything that goes for everything, you learn to like it and love it. At one point, I was talking to somebody who jogged for like 40 or close to 50 years, and he said to me, "Listen, for the first 3 years, I didn't like doing it, but now I miss it because of the age. He cannot run anymore. But he said that if he's missing anything from when he was younger, is the opportunity to run." So I guess that kind of like can be applied and give as an example in this situation, and you'll learn to love once you spend some time and try to develop the skills that are required for this job to be done well.
I don't fully agree with you. My perspective is figure out what you're interested in and start walking in that direction. Yes, you might do something else temporarily. And like you're saying, try to find things that you love about that position, even if in general you don't like it, but still have a plan B to work on. Because that plan B, if it's something that you're passionate about, you're interested in, you get that energy and motivation to put it into the work that you're doing, but also building that path that you're interested in step by step to move forward. So what's your perspective on that?
Maybe I was a little bit, I consider myself lucky because I wasn't put, or maybe I just managed to overcome any difficulties I had one way or another. Obviously, for example, myself, I wouldn't go towards an engineering career or something so technical because it doesn't fit me and I wouldn't be interested, and it will be hard for me to find a passion. But even in what you do, there are definitely there are moments that the things that you need to do are not so appealing. And I noticed this when I was in the I was managing my own recording studio, and I had to sit behind the desk. And I can tell you for sure that nobody really likes to set up the project, route everything, all the channels, put in all the cables, all the gear, set up the microphone at the beginning. And sounds overwhelming. And a simple recording session can have like 1 or 2 or even 3 hours of a setup before the recording starts, especially if you have a live band and so on. But you learn to love these things once you go ahead and develop the skills to actually understand what you are doing.
So what I'm hearing from you, you're walking the path that you want, but you learn how to deal with the little things that you don't like about that path, because there might be things like this happening. That's what you're saying. It's not that you do whatever you do and you force yourself to like it and then you move to something else. It's kind of a combination between what I said and what you're doing.
Yeah, probably you're a coach or a mentor. You talk with more people that probably are in my situation and have a better way of expressing it. I only have myself to give as an example. And as I said, I wouldn't call it necessarily luck because it wasn't all that easy all the time.
I will call it you made your luck. You chose the direction and learned how to navigate it and learn how to deal with the challenges that came along the way. But you are still in charge of that path.
I like to think so.
That's how it looks like. And you, along the way, you learn different skills, you acquire different expertise, and you start combining them in a way that helps. For example, you started with that recording studio, and now you're helping small businesses. But everything that you learn in between, it's helping you with what you're doing right now.
Oh, most definitely. And I also have a feeling of accomplishment when the client is satisfied, and as I like to say, the job is well done, regardless of if it's a song or if the results from this month are performing better than last month or last year in terms of their digital marketing campaign, their SEO campaign. So that's something amazing that I guess you could say I am passionate about delivering that type of service, whatever it might be, accounting or SEO or monitoring.
Mm-hmm. You have a newsletter, and I receive it from time to time. It's called How About Some Marketing? And what I noticed in the newsletter, you're not talking only about SEO and small business. You're talking about a lot of other things. So I want to bring in the Emanuel, the person, the whole person. How do you bring yourself into what you're doing? Whatever you like outside what we call a professional path. How do you mix this together?
A technical description would be identify myself with the product.
Meaning?
me being the product. So obviously I identify myself. It's, as I say in the tagline for the newsletter, it's more about marketing. And I, as you said, rarely mention SEO and social media and paid advertising. And I talk more about the stories and what's behind an idea or something. Basically, my comments on an important event or something that I consider that my subscribers would benefit from me sharing that knowledge. And I believe that's a key element that develops a relationship, because what I'm trying to do is to develop the relationships, the networking, but I will go a little bit more than networking and call them relationships with my subscribers.
Okay. I'm bringing in my first book, Introverts Leverage Your Strengths for an Effective Job Search. I know that you've read it. In what way it helped you, the content of that book?
Not only that I read it, but I recommended to many other immigrants, because I've been also mentoring some new immigrants to Canada that have reached out to me, people that want to get a job and start working in the digital marketing field. So whenever I talk to someone, I tell them start here, first of all, and I send them to your book. As I said, I wish I had that book when I first came to Canada, because everything that you learn through some courses that you take when coming here as a new immigrant, and mentorship programs and other books and webinars and seminars are concentrated in a single place, and that's your book. And also it's structured in a way that makes sense. At least it made sense for me, and puts a different perspective. Also challenges your thoughts a little bit. You actually go interactive with your readers. Although it's a book, you ask them do this, do that, not in a way that but something that helps them identify key elements about themselves, and especially introverts, that those elements that could stand out and differentiate them from their competition, not SEO, but the competition for getting a job, and actually have a chance of standing out in an interview. So, as I said, the title is a little bit misleading, is because I wouldn't consider it limited to just the introverts. Valid skills for everyone.
Yep, it's true. I put a lot of exercises and strategies that work for both extroverts and introverts. I just added some extra for introverts because they need a different approach, since extroverted behaviors extroverts and introverts have complementary innate traits. So I consider them strengths, and I had to put in that book strategies for introverts to use those strengths they already have, because they are so different from extroverts that sometimes the strategies that we hear often don't apply very well to introverts. So that's why I chose to use that introverts word in the title. I know that you changed jobs since you came to Canada, since you read that book. Is there anything in particular that helped you from that book on your career path in Canada?
Most definitely, those exercises help, and it's important because I actually, it was the first book. We read many books where it says go do this or go do that, or get a pen and paper and start writing down top 10 skills or top things that you do, but we never actually do that. So I think that was one of the first books that I actually took a pen and paper and wrote down all these things, and the
Wheel of Life and
Wheel of Life introduced. So that helped me bring out what was already there, but put it in a different perspective. So shaped and gave me a new perspective. I guess that's a good answer for your question.
Thank you. I have someone who told me that my book presents job search from a holistic approach. It's not just do this, do that, write a resume, and your application. I talk about many more aspects that are related to job search that usually are not covered in the job search workshops, because there is much more. There is a mindset, there is the attitude that you bring to the job search, not only the skills that you have, and also the human factor that many people don't take in consideration, that you have to put yourself out there, increase your visibility, gain trust, because that's what will open doors for you, more even than your resume. And you're a proof how you evolved in your career because of the fact that you increase your network, that you increase your visibility and gain trust. People help you. And can you elaborate more on that networking part, how it helped you?
First of all, let me thank you first, because definitely your book helped, and also the opportunity to, I guess I'm blessed because we have worked together on many different projects. So that's also an opportunity for me to learn. But what was your question exactly again?
About networking.
Networking.
How it helped you, in what way?
Well, you know, sorry?
In Canada.
Obviously, when you come to Canada, you don't really have a huge network, and you kind of like focus on the channels that are offered at first. And there are many here, and the government does a great job in supporting new immigrants through courses, through mentorship programs, through different types of organizations that are dedicated to helping new immigrants adapt to the Canadian job market. That being said, nobody. This is just the first layer, but it's you who actually needs to do the work. And I like to think of myself as a social person, and like to offer to help and volunteer. And that's one way of developing great relationships that can turn into networking. And you can reach out not necessarily for something very specific, but for help and support. And if, with your permission, I'll give an example. Right now, I'm asking you every now and then some questions, and I consult with you and so on as a coach and as a mentor as well. So these types of relationships help you a lot in your career, not just as the specific moment, but throughout your life.
Mm-hmm. And if you're talking about this, we're part of the same mastermind group. And I know that a lot of people don't know what a mastermind group is and what could be the benefits. How did you benefit from being in this mastermind group?
I think the single most important thing is that you're held accountable by your peers. So you simply write what is it that you want to do. We write it down, I want to do this. And next time when we meet, the other person will ask you, have you done this? Because you said you will do. And that's probably why I also launched even the newsletter, How About Some Marketing, which I launched this year. As I like to say, it's 15 years later, but who's counting, right? So the element of accountability is very important. Speaking of accounting again, right? Going back there, accountability. The other important aspect of being part of a mastermind is that you can share ideas and also see the other perspective, other person's perspective. And I would argue that it's better when not everyone thinks the same way that you do, because you don't have the opportunity to you don't know what others might think, right? And you, by having that mastermind, the first layer, when you launch a project like you did with your project, your Introverts Academy, and many others, are the first layer, and feedback from people with different perspectives. So that's something that I guess companies used to pay millions of dollars, right, to get that type of information. So those are like two essential things that you can benefit from being part of a mastermind.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And you're talking about Introverts Academy. When I started Introverts Academy, I put together an advisory committee, and I was looking for people who have different type of expertise, because I don't know everything. And I wanted them to bring their expertise to the table when we have the meeting. They have a lot of great ideas, but also they help me. After each meeting, my mind is more opened, not only with new ideas, but new perspective, new ways of looking at things, because they come from all these different perspectives, and it's very useful. And I highly encourage people, whether you have a public project or not, even if it's just for yourself or your career, get a group of people, get your own advisory board. And you can offer to be in this kind of groups with other people because it's very helpful. It helped me to bring the Introverts Academy up to this point, and we move forward. And every time when I have a new meeting, I bring to the table things that I found challenging, that I need some ideas, and they keep me accountable. And it's very, very useful, as I mentioned. Do you have anything else to add at the end for those who are listening to us?
Might be many things. But if I were to give just one last thought is especially for I don't know why I have in mind also new immigrants, because we brought that up in our conversation, and I just remembered my journey a little bit, is to be for them to be patient and to go and reach out to people and ask as many questions as possible to try to connect with the industry people that could help.
And I would like to extend that concept because it applies to everyone, not only to new immigrants.
Correct.
If you start your business, if you start a career, if you want to change a career, if you want to change your job, everything that you said applies. So increasing your network, it's helping you because you take time to increase your network, and when you need it, it's there, instead of starting at that point to build a network and reaching out to people. And you build that credibility and trust in time, and it's very important and very useful. That's why I created a new course for Introverts Academy. It's called Networking the Introvert Way, because I want introverts to understand more this concept, and I show them how to use it to stay true to their introverted nature and how to manage their energy, because that's the most important part for us, for introverts. And last thing I want, Emanuel, do you have 2-3 books that you recommend to people? From everything, I know you're an avid reader, you read a lot of books. So from everything you've read in life, what are 2 or 3 books or authors that you would recommend to others?
Thank you so much. I would want to add something based on what you said recently. Yes. Before going to the books, I'm going to share a secret. Most people like to help, especially the successful one. So don't be afraid. The worst thing that can happen is not answer your message. So I personally love when somebody reaches out to me and asks me a question, especially when I don't know the answer, because it puts me to work and it helps me. That's one thing. Now back to the books. I like to read a lot. I don't have the time that I would love to have to actually read everything, but excluding the present authors and the books that we also discovered. Last year I've read Ray Dalio's Principle. Ray Dalio is a retired hedge fund manager. He's one of the big guys, and he put this book together, his principles that he used throughout his career and become successful, and he is quite successful, no doubts about it. So I've read many books, even about business, even about personal development and so on, but apparently this one spoke to me in the language that I understood, and probably also I was at the right age where I connected all the dots and everything made sense. And one thing he emphasizes a lot is radical transparency, which I love the concept a lot, because we all make mistakes and we must be open and we must learn about them. So some companies, right, don't even call them mistakes, they call them learning opportunities or stuff like that. But being transparent about it, and also about evaluation. Those are some key concepts that that have impacted my life significantly for the past year. Other than that, I would so if you haven't read it, I would recommend getting a copy as soon as possible. And that's one book I would check. There are many others. It's always good for the spiritual side to read your any other spiritual book that one might have. But I would stick to Ray Dalio's Principle for the moment. And I usually speak about my books in the books I read and what made an impact in my newsletter and on my website.
So if you want to hear more from Emanuel, you have the website here. His website is emanuelp.com, but if you want to join his newsletter, you go to howaboutsommarketing.com, and you'll hear more from Emanuel. He's sharing insights from the books he's reading and some tips here and there. And that last thing that I want to share, it's one of the principles from the same book. It's about accepting other people's perspectives. Different people have different perspectives. Don't just stay in your own bubble, because you can expand much more, and those who have opposite perspective than yours actually help you stretch out a little bit more, stretch out your comfort zone, and that's how you can evolve. The Mastermind group is based on the same concept, and it's something else that you said that I want to end up with is not only reaching out to people, it's also how much you help other people. Because especially successful people are very busy and they need help as well. And you increase your chances to get some answers from them if you offer to help in one way or another, or ask them if they need help, in what ways they need help. They will tell you. So there are a lot of things that you can do. I hope you enjoyed our live. Thank you so much, Emanuel, for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Gabriela.
And yeah, connect with us on LinkedIn. Ask us questions in the comment section if you want us to answer more. And thank you so much, and see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.